baking with chocolate is always a good idea. I'm Hart Hoffman, the editor-in-chief of Bake From Scratch magazine, and I am so excited about today's recipe. We're making spiced chocolate-orange loaves. Now this recipe uses the same dough and filling that I used to make spiced chocolate-orange knots, and you'll find the full recipe and tutorial for both at redstaryeast.com/platinum. Now, speaking about platinum yeast from Red Star, this is an ingredient you need to have in your kitchen. It's my favorite yeast to bake with, and it makes yeast baking easy, and the results are always perfect. So be sure to stock up. I promise you're going to love it. For today's recipe, I am thinking about self-care. So my platinum moment is all about me this time. Sometimes baking is an enjoyable process to make and share with other people, but I'm actually making this today so that I can enjoy it throughout the weekend. Now the recipe makes 2 loaves, so I'm gonna save the second one for French toast or bread pudding, and then I can share that with some other people, but this one's all about me today. Now using the dough from the previous recipe, I'm picking things up today with the dough that's already had its first rise, punched it down and let it rest for 10 minutes, and this is a delicious dough that you know platinum yeast from Red Star is taking center stage in, along with some light brown sugar, whole milk, unsalted butter, orange zest for really good flavor, and egg. And I'm gonna start by taking my dough from the bowl and dividing it. Like I told you before, this recipe makes 2 loaves. So we're gonna divide this dough, so really you've got one process that yields both. So it's really great, really easy, and it tastes really good too. So I'm gonna weigh my dough, and just using a bowl scraper, taking it from the bowl, and I'm gonna yield, each loaf should be 425 grams. So taking this off the scale, dividing in 2, just using a bench scraper here, 380. So let's go get just a little bit more of the dough, 428. I'll call that half right there. I'll save this half over here under some plastic wrap so that it doesn't dry out. As today, I'm just gonna work with this one piece of dough and show you how to assemble this loaf. Clear some stuff out of the way and lightly flour our surface so that we can roll our dough. Each piece of dough will be rolled into a 13 by 10 inch rectangle. And when I've got dough in front of me that's not exactly the shape I'm looking for, I tuck some of this under, so where I got that little extra piece, and I'll start by turning it into the shape I'm looking for, so a rectangle. So I use my hands to begin this process and just square off the edges, or you can use your bench scraper for this too. So just start shaping your dough into the rectangle. Then, with your rolling pin and a little bit of flour, I'll start and get this rolled into that 13 by 10, and then we're gonna add a delicious filling. My dough is rolled. Let's talk about this delicious filling. This is a combination of butter, light brown sugar, Dutch processed cocoa powder for that really deep cocoa flavor, ground clove for spice, orange zest, and salt. This is a filling you will absolutely love. So I've got my offset spatula ready, but I'm gonna start with a spatula, and I'm just gonna dollop the filling. This is a good tip when you're adding a filling to your dough. Fight the urge to put one big, kind of scoop the bowl into the middle of the dough, because it's gonna make it harder for you to spread the filling. So take a spatula or an offset spatula and just dollop the filling over your dough. It's gonna make it easy to spread, you're not gonna tear the dough, and we're all about making life easier in the kitchen. So I'm just getting this on the dough, and then I'm gonna start spreading it. Now when I'm spreading this filling over the dough, I want to leave 3 half-inch borders, 2 on both of the short side and 1 on the long side, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. And I also want you to know, as you make this dough, you can start thinking about other ways you could use it. So some orange sweet rolls would be great since you've got the orange zest in the dough. You could also put a cinnamon orange filling instead of this chocolate. Really customize it. Use a filling from another recipe that you love. But this is one that I know you're gonna love. So try this one, but then know that you can also use the dough for other things. So let me get this border just a little bit closer on this side. All right, that was easy, right? Now, starting with the side closest to me, or the side that you didn't leave a border, we're going to start rolling up our dough jelly roll style. So I just start by getting a nice small tuck of the dough over the filling, and then I use my fingers to just gently roll this evenly, watching my sides to get a nice even roll all the way to the ends. And when you get to the end and you see that the corner is just a little bit rounded, give the dough a nice little tuck, or pull here rather, to get squared off corner when the dough meets. Then immediately take your fingers, and on these two portions of dough without any filling, you can pinch your seam to seal it. That's why we left that border open there without filling, just to make it easier. Then I'm going to take some plastic wrap, and I'm going to put this in the refrigerator for 20 minutes, and I'll show you how easy it is to work with cold dough after shaping like this. At this stage, working with cold dough is going to help us cut and shape our loaf so much easier. So once you try it, I promise you'll love it at home too. It's such a nice added trick to the kitchen. Instead of working with that soft dough and the filling that was really easy to work with, now everything is a little bit more set, and now I can get it in the pan without a big mess. The first thing I'm going to do is check to ensure that this is now 14 inches, and it looks like I've got about a ½ inch more that I need to get on the width. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently stretch the dough, and it's not so cold that it's impossible to do that, to get to 14 inches. Then I'm going to take a sharp serrated knife, and I'm going to cut this in half with the seam side down. And you can see that using the cold dough here is perfect because the knife is gliding right through. So just use the serrated knife, gently cut, and then you're going to open this up with the cut sides up, just like this. And as it opens up, if you need to come back through with the knife just to get a clean cut on the bottom, go back through so that you're not tearing the dough. Then, I'm going to move this to the side. Take one piece of your dough with the cut side up and place the other piece directly over it in the shape of an X. Then, working towards you, you're going to take both of these ends, and I'm reaching under so I can get a good twist, keeping the cut side up. One more twist for a second. And then the ends that we didn't have the filling in, I can pinch these to join them together. And then I'm going to do this again on the other side with 1 and 2, and then again pinching these ends together. So now I've got the dough twisted, I almost said braided, and I have a pan that I've sprayed with cooking spray and lined with parchment, and you can see that this is so much larger than the pan. So now I'm going to tuck my ends under as I transfer, and you can see that these ends are really tucked. This is not a small tuck of the dough, but I just need to make sure that this fits completely in the pan, keeping the cut sides up. So adjust everything in the pan. Then I'm going to cover and let this rise until puffed and it passes a ripe test. I'll show you what that looks like in about 25 to 30 minutes. We do a ripe test to know that the dough is properly risen and it's ready to go into the oven. So on this loaf, I will just simply take my finger and press a little bit into the dough. When I move my finger back, the dough should spring back halfway, leaving the indentation though, and this is the way that I know it's properly proofed and ready for the oven. Then, I'm going to take an egg wash, and this is just a combination of a beaten egg and 1 tablespoon of water, and I'm just brushing it over the top of the bread. This is going to give us that beautiful golden color as it bakes, and then you're going to get nice chocolate swirl And I have to say, it even smells so good right now with this chocolate and spice. So I cannot wait till we get this out of the oven. And then when you slice it, you get the beautiful marbling too that we get from this twist. And then we're off to the oven. We are going to bake this for 20 minutes at 350 degrees and rotate the pan and then cover with foil. So we're gonna get even browning, but we don't want it to get too dark on top. And then we'll bake about 8 minutes longer until an instant read thermometer inserted into the center registers 190 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when you know it's done. So I cannot wait to show you when this beauty comes out of the oven. Ta-da! Look at these beauties. And the thing I love about these, you don't even have to wait till they cool to room temperature to enjoy. So while this one finishes cooling, this one is ready for a little bit of sweetness that we can get from some confectioner's sugar. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. And more than beautiful, it's gonna be delicious. Let's see what it looks like too. I love cutting into these braided breads when we get this beautiful moment. Are you ready? Ta-da! Look at the swirl. Now I'm gonna cut another piece so I can enjoy it right now. All right, my piece is ready to go. But before I dive in on this, I wanna thank you for taking time to join me in the kitchen today as I made these spiced chocolate-orange loaves. The full recipe, list of ingredients, and the variation with the knots can be found at redstaryeast.com/platinum. I can't wait to see when you make it. Let me know if you make variations to make it your own. And in the meantime, I wish you all happy baking. Stock your pantries with platinum yeast from Red Star. I'll see you next time.